Okay, here we are. Summer series. We're going to have
so excited about this.
Some interview style for a little mini series for the podcast.
I know this one's going to be a good one. So we have Miss Molly McCauley with us today.
When you say miss, it sounds so official.
I know. It's like a super Southern thing, right? Like, here we are, Miss Molly McCauley. She's going to talk about a little bit about neurodivergence, especially in creatives. And we're so excited about this one.
So excited.
But before we do, we always start with our top three. So,
I'm gonna start with top three. So, okay, I have in the summer. This is what I use. It is Supergoop powder SPF, and I could not figure out what to do when I would put my makeup on, and then I would need to reapply sunscreen. I could not figure it out. So then when I found this, I was like, this is a game changer. I've also heard people use it when they play tennis. Like they just put powder on. I don't know, but I don't play tennis. I just like to have something to reapply sunscreen.
She's like, let me be clear, I am not athletic.
Not a tennis. I am athletic, but I'm not a tennis player.
Tennis.
I failed tennis in college. Fun fact.
What?
I did. I failed tennis. Like they had to remove at A&M. They had to remove me. Anyway, that's just another story. I had to drop because I was failing tennis.
Paige,
so bad.
That's too funny.
I went to Pilates.
Oh, I did Pilates too.
Yeah.
As my rec or my whatever that is. That's
Okay, so number 2 is my dry shampoo, Crown Affair.
Ooh.
Have you heard of this one, Molly?
I've heard of it, but I am not, I don't use dry shampoo.
You don't like dry shampoo?
No, I like it. I just don't use it.
Do it, yeah.
So I'm not up on the current.
I only wash my hair twice a week. Fun fact.
Whoa, it looks so good.
I'm once a week. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what? So you should use
Wow.
what?
I don't need. I just have dry. I have a dry head. We got a dry scalp over here.
That's amazing.
We are in the humidity of the South, and
Oh,
so we are constantly needing dry shampoo.
Yeah.
This one I really liked because it's you brush it on. You don't
cool.
spray it. You don't dump it on your
aerosol
head.
can
It's a brush that you get the powder and then you just put it where you need it in your hair, and it smells really good.
Ooh.
I'm kind of funny about scents, and it wasn't too strong.
Me too.
Anyway, Crown Affair.
Nice.
Really
Okay.
great.
Does it give you some volume?
Yeah, I think it does kind of give you a little bit of volume too. Maybe right at the roots.
That's what I need.
Okay, so here's my number 3. I know you read. Molly, do you like to read?
I'm more of a listener.
Okay. Same. Well, Audible. Yes.
I was gonna say that ties into what we're talking about.
Yes. I'm an
fits.
Audible girl 100% of the way. Don't get me wrong. I do every once in a while I like a good handheld book, but
I mean, it still. This means you read to me.
I
this
wish I did. I'm not gonna buy a book. That's it's not me.
I'll buy an Audible
book. So my number 3 is Beach Reads and Bubbly. Do you follow her on Instagram?
Say your name again?
Beach Reads and Bubbly.
Beach Reads
so
and Bubbly.
she reviews books, she reads them, she reviews them, and then she usually makes a cocktail to go with the book.
Oh, that's cute.
I'm obsessed.
But everything she reads, not everything, but a lot of the things that she reads and really likes, I also really like. So anyway, that's just a fun one fun follow because I always get a good book from her. I love getting.
And a cocktail.
I've never made a cocktail, but
who's
she did.
gonna say no to that.
No, I know. It sounds like a good time. So anyway, those are my 3. All right,
You know
Molly.
what I just listened to? I just finished Dinner for Vampires, that biography from Bethany Joy Lenz that she was on One Tree Hill.
Nice.
She was on that show, but she was also in a cult during that show.
No
and
way.
This is her recounting everything. She apparently had very detailed journals, and I liked that show. I didn't watch it the whole way through, but I liked that show. And I always thought she was really interesting, and now all of this makes sense. I was like, she's never
So did you enjoy the book?
I did. I really, really enjoyed it. And she reads it, so it's really interesting to hear her.
That's cool.
I love that.
Yeah, I love biographies though. For that kind of stuff, those celebrity, the ins and outs of. But I lived in LA for however many years, so it's I feel like I already know that stuff.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna give you mine.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm in the trenches now with this, trying to relearn it because right after our right after I saw you guys in Dallas, I want to say like 2 weeks later, I chopped all my hair off.
I see
Which
that.
is amazing.
It's so cute.
She's short.
She is short.
She is real short. So I'm relearning how to use my Dyson Airwrap, but I will say from somebody who used to never dry their hair, as soon as I got that was like game changer. Like I would dry it and like use the Airwrap, and I wouldn't wash my hair for a week, and it would hold, like the curl would slowly fall, but it was like always gave it volume, always did that stuff. Like I'm obsessed with that, so I'm trying to relearn how to do it, but with short hair.
Yeah.
It's a different, I know that sounds silly, but it really is different because there's not as much hair to wrap around. So now I'm like, okay, wait, how do I do this?
Yeah.
But I'm still obsessed, and I going from not really being a person who uses like hot tools or anything like that, knowing that this one like isn't as damaging to, I don't know, a win for me.
Love it.
Yeah, so fully into that, invested in that. My second one is, and you guys probably experienced it a little bit, is building a capsule wardrobe. I had somebody help kind of curate what this would look like a handful of years ago, probably 5 or 6 years ago in LA. And I've really built off of that, but I'm trying to like refine it in a way that I love just having like staple pieces and making sure everything can mix and match. Like, so colors and tones and everything like that is when I'm buying things, I'm like, okay, how many outfits can I make with this?
Yes.
And then having like my statement pieces be like necklaces or jewelry. Like when I saw you guys, I had that really big like choker necklace as
which
a
was
statement.
so cool.
With the most basic white shirt and jeans. But it
just, like,
that
made
is to
such
me,
popped.
Yeah, that to me is way more interesting. So I have been like slowly revamping wardrobe to have a lot of those elements. So
That's so cool.
We've
It's
actually
fun.
talked a lot about clothes because it's really hard, especially when you're recording something or like doing like this weekly or you're putting it out regularly.
Not
to
wearing the
look
same thing.
different. I had to think about it this morning when I was picking out my clothes.
Well, and that's funny because it's like on every single, I have a membership, and every single monthly call, it's like I'm literally wearing my same like house jacket thing that I wear because it's cold in my house. I'm like, these look like they could be filmed on all the same day, and this has been a year. Like this has been a year of wearing this jacket. Okay.
Love a good capsule wardrobe.
Staple capsule wardrobe that is very interchangeable, but with like fun punches, because I like something, to be way more interesting and give a reason for people to talk about you, you know?
I love this.
And then my third is, just because I am sad I don't have it this morning, for the last like 10 years probably, I want to say, probably 10 years, I have had the same chocolate protein shake every single morning, and I'm currently out, so I'm sad, and I'm thinking about it. But
what is it from?
it's unfortunately an MLM, so I don't really love sharing it. But I
totally
got
get
it. I know I got it, but I do really love it more than everything else. So even though I'm not in that world, I still order the product because I like it. But then add that PB2 in it, which is like that powdered peanut butter. So it's like a chocolate peanut butter protein shake every morning.
That sounds amazing.
I know, and I should be getting a box probably like tomorrow.
Okay, good.
I'm so close. I know. Yeah, I'm like, okay, I was too slow on the order last time, you know?
That sounds
There's
so
a
good.
lack,
Every
but
single morning.
Every morning for like 10
Would
years.
you say like you do, is it just like with water, or do you do like almond milk?
I do water just because we don't really have milk. My husband's a vegan, and like we have almond milk or oat milk sometimes, but it's not often. So water is just like a sure thing, and I like to make mine thick, so it is like sludge. It's
Like
you
you're
know,
chewing it?
Yeah, sometimes you're chewing it. No, you're not chewing it, but you're like, ooh, this is like melted ice cream a little bit. Like it's a little thick. But that's like my go-to for like the last decade because I'm not like a breakfast eater in general. So like that's like the best way for me to get like decent protein every
Yes.
day.
I love that.
Yeah.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, I love that. That sounds so delicious. Okay, well, your top 3 are incredible. Thank you for sharing those.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to have to start on that chocolate protein.
That's actually what I don't do the same exact thing you do, but that is also my favorite protein shake with peanut butter. I just like put peanut butter or almond butter and a banana. And so I do blend it with
love
ice.
it. I blend
it's
mine
very
too.
similar.
Yeah, and I used to do just regular peanut butter until I found the powdered, and I was oh, okay. I'm like, this makes it a little less chewy, which is nice.
So better. So much better.
It's like a great thing. And mine is whey protein, and I know that there's a lot of, like, my husband, because he's vegan, does a lot of plant-based or like pea proteins. They don't taste the same. And honestly, like it's just whey is the way for me. Yeah,
the
whey
way
is
to go.
the way for me.
It's the way to go.
And I think there's like studies, like if you actually like look it up, like whey being sometimes better for women, or like figuring out like what's best for your body, right? So
I would agree.
I love it.
It ain't broke, so I'm not fixing it.
That's right. I love it.
It's been the staple.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll start on the and we did not mention at the beginning of this, we did meet you at the Creative Educator Conference. And I feel like you were one of the first people we met there, and we just
I forced myself into your fire pit.
No,
Which is fine. I'm so glad that you did.
I know. Meeting you was really such a highlight, and we just love you, and we admire you so much in your work. So thanks for being here. We're so excited to talk with you.
Okay, so before we start like going into like the deep dive, okay, so just kind of tell everybody like who you are, where you're from, kind of what you do.
Yeah, loaded questions.
Yeah.
It's it's funny because it's like nobody ever gets to where they're going unless you are in like a career thing and it's like a straight line. Like I feel like all of us creatives, our stories are just like wild because it's like, oh, we did this and then we did this and whatever. I am Molly McCauley. I am the founder of Make Pretty Workshop that has evolved into photography education, but really just kind of wedding pro education because my membership is inclusive of different vendors. But I've been a destination wedding photographer for the last 16 years, which makes me just feel ancient. So there we have it. But I have a background I'm one of those few people who has multiple degrees in photography. And I know in my field and specifically in the wedding industry, a lot of people are self-taught. Like it's something that you very easily can teach yourself if you have the discipline and you have the time to play around and practice and all that kind of stuff. That's what I love so much about photography, is that it is like very, it's a fun, even if it's a hobby, it's a fun thing for people to learn. Right. But I have an undergraduate in photography, design, and retail merchandising. I've always had an interest in fashion, so the goal was always to be a fashion photographer. I worked in fashion in London, and then back in when I moved to LA, I was dressing professional athletes, and we were doing all sorts of stuff. But I got a part-time job as a wedding planner, and that's how I got into the wedding industry, and then eventually transitioned into vendor rather than planner. Still vendor, but like a different element. Yeah, exactly. And it just all kind of snowballed from there. I got my master's during the time I was planning, and that was with the intent of teaching photography. So the goal of education was always there. Both of my parents are teachers. My mom was an art teacher. She's a goldsmith. My sister's an interior designer. We're all very creative in our family. So the goal was to teach it, and then my business just kind of took off and thwarted that entire plan. And 12 years later, I still am not teaching it, but at a collegiate level, but I have my own program that has become really, really awesome because I think it fills a gap from traditional education and how people learn. I don't really learn that great through courses or by like reading because I have a reading disability, but I learn really well hands-on and in person, where I can grasp a task and like really get a concept and have somebody maybe break it down for me in a different way. So I decided to create Make Pretty to fill the gap of what I thought was missing in the workshop space, but also the education space of just like having a lot of tangible in-person interactions. And so I figured I'd teach the best way I learn. So that launched in 2021, and it's been going really well since then. And still shooting weddings, doing all the things.
So cool.
Oh my goodness.
I think that's what was so impressive. Lauren and I talked about this in our recap of meeting people at the conference. Is it's not just I am this. It was like, I do this and this. It was just so cool, which I mean, is kind of what Lauren and I also are doing now. I mean, to an extent. But we weren't really, in the last 6 months, we were just photographers. That's what we did. I mean, and there's a lot to that also. So it's so impressive. And I love that you're using, your strengths to build something that fits for you and to serve other people
too.
Which is, I think for the longest time too, I was trying to do it by the standards of how other people were doing it, and it just like every single time, like that's like traditional school growing up, like I was just not good at school. Like, so like for me, have always felt like I've been swimming upstream and like I'll keep going, but like it has always felt a little harder. So it's just been interesting, and I find that like having these different methods also available, like most creatives have some sort of multi-passionate like way of wanting to exist, so they're doing, like you said, multiple things, and or they're ADHD like me and they just need to have their hand in a million things and have a lot of squirrel moments. So we're kind of all over the place, but I like being the person who can resonate with people in that way.
Absolutely.
And connect with people.
Which is amazing. Okay, so that's a great segue into what we're actually going to be talking about. So you were saying how you learn a little bit differently. And when we were at this conference, you did a talk on neurodivergence in the creative space. And so I really feel...
And it was like 5 minutes. I mean, it was a lightning talk, so it was really quick. We'll give you more than 5 minutes.
It's okay.
But it was so great, because also... Paige and I both have children who are dyslexic and have dyslexia. And so we are learning also with them firsthand how hard it is in the education space.
Traditional education, like you said.
School education. And then how that also, will continue on with the rest of their life in the creative realm, in their work, in their business. So when you were talking about this, it was just like, oh my gosh, this is incredible, from someone who is not, I don't know, maybe I am neurodivergent, I don't know. I could be, and I just was never tested on it.
Most women are diagnosed much later in life.
Which would make sense. But like also like to be able to like encourage Hannah in that way, you know what I mean, as she grows and as she gets older. She told me the other day that she wants to be an interior designer, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. I know, which in the back of my mind, I know.
Pictures, hello.
Right?
She wants to work with visuals and like that kind of stuff. She doesn't need to read. Like, she just put it in. Make it look good, girl. Just make it look good.
She's so good at it. And so I'm like, okay, let's like push it, lean into this a little bit. Yes. So anyway, okay, I'm gonna let the floor open to you. And
it was great, because that talk was originally pitched to be a main stage speaker. So it was originally pitched to be longer. So when it was condensed into the 5-minute, I was like, ooh, how do I do this? Because there's so much information, and also there's so many nuances to this, and I'm just gonna go ahead and say what my experience is my experience, and it's not everybody's. I am not a doctor. I am not an expert on neurodivergence. I just know what my experience is, and I was diagnosed just under 3 years ago, so it's like it's still fairly new for me. I'm still learning things about my personality, but I will say that like learning why I am the way that I am has made me understand how to operate maybe in a more efficient way, or in a way like, okay, I know that this method works for me, so we're only going to do that. I'm not going to try to do this other stuff that I know doesn't. Or it's also probably helped my relationships, friendships, my family, like understand that, oh, I'm interrupting you. That's not me being rude. That's me trying to stay present in this conversation. So that is, it's been really, really insightful, but I also think it has helped shape my business, especially from the education side. I think that's been really important. But yeah, I mean, obviously there's like a full spectrum of neurodivergence, and, there's different severities. And I would say would never have guessed, like growing up, I never I think we knew I had like some reading stuff was difficult.
Yeah.
I had some comprehension issues. So like by the time I'd finish a sentence, I'd forget what the first words were, like that kind of stuff. But I remember specifically like not wanting to get diagnosed because like I didn't want it to impact anything. I didn't want it, but keep in mind too, like that's like the 90s, so it's like very different, like 90s and early aughts. Like you don't want to have a label because the support wasn't really there yet, but also now that we know practically everybody is on the spectrum in some way or form, it is way easier to not have it be stigmatized the same way that I think it was when I was growing up. But I just like I wasn't into it. I was like, I don't want to be in special classes. I don't want to be in any of these things. And it's like, honestly, if I got a C, I was happy with it. Like I was totally fine fighting for average. And I was like, I just need to get through. That's literally like, I was like, even through college, like on my gen eds, I was like, okay, I need to just pass it. Like I just need to like get a D and you're fine. Like just get through it. So it's been a really interesting learning curve like throughout life. And I think that specifically with ADHD, I think oftentimes we're like we think of ourselves as like expert multitaskers, but like really we're just like going a million miles a minute sometimes, like in our brain. We're not necessarily, the hyper isn't really like the way that it was pictured as it was when you remember it being framed as like this like hyper little boy bouncing off the walls. It's more so for me in the space of sometimes it's so overwhelming I don't know how to process what is, and then that paralyzes me. You know, like I have so many ideas going, or I have so many things that I know are on my to-do list that I'm just like, I don't even know what to do first. So sometimes there's a lack of action or anything like that, right? There's so many different ways that it manifests for people. Specifically for my ADHD, it also pairs with anxiety. A lot of people who have ADHD have anxiety and or depression. And I have, you know, I have a cocktail of all three. It's like lovely. You know, it makes me work really well on a deadline. I am an overproducer at the last hour. Like I will still be the person that waits till the last minute to do something, but I'm still going to deliver more than what's expected. So it's really interesting. And like, I know that would my life be easier maybe if I was proactive about like planning things out and giving myself more time, maybe, but I also know that the fire isn't there to motivate me to do this thing. So like, I'm still going to wait till the last minute. There's just behavioral things that I know about myself where I'm like, okay, I operate best when I know I need to have something out by 10 a.m. tomorrow, and I'm just going to do it. I'm going to crank it out now. And it doesn't impede, like, I honestly think it fuels my creativity. Like when I am trying to force myself to be creative on a day-to-day, like it doesn't necessarily work. So when it strikes, like I try to take advantage of it. But I also think that like there's this weird duality of like, okay, you're procrastinating, but you also just do really well when you wait.
Under pressure.
So it's like, so for me, it works.
I love that you said was it's a superpower. And I feel like you're saying that right now without saying it, is like you're just you're just leaning into it.
Right. And I think too, like when I mentioned on stage, it was because it was the 5-minute talk, it was I felt like I needed to pack a punch. So hopefully it felt that way. Like I wanted it to be very impactful in like a, okay, I'm just going to come on stage and slap you across the face with this. Like I felt like that, like my slides were very simple, but I wanted them to be impactful, like all of that kind of stuff. It was just, there was a lot of punch there, but there was also a lot of information. And the thing that I think is important for people to realize is that like what often like this element of it, right? What makes me different is what makes me succeed a lot of times in these things. And I think that instead of having this stigma that has always been attached to it, like if we are able to reframe, and because I was talking to a room full of educators, it was more so of like people, and like you have children, right? Who are dealing with this. So it's like, even if you yourself don't don't deal with this, it will help you to understand how these things might manifest or how things work, or, you know, these character traits that are common for dyslexic folks or common for ADHD folks or people with autism or anything like that. Like, there are these superpowers within each of those. And I think about this, and I had a friend growing up who is fairly severe on the spectrum, and he was always hard for people to be around, and I was one of the few people I think that could tolerate him, and he was always paired with me in classes and like stuff like that, so it was like, okay, we're in it, we're going for it. But I get upset every time that I think about the wasted potential that could have been harnessed by his obsessive compulsive nature, that if you put him in a room and had him researching only things for space, like what he could have done for NASA or like whatever, like I just think about it and I'm just like, what a waste. And it's sad, and he's, you know, living his life and everything like that because I stay in touch with him, but like it makes me upset that he wasn't nurtured in the way that I think now people are, in at least a better way, or with more resources, right? So, to get back to it, it's just like we all have these elements and these traits that really make us good for certain things.
Yes.
And, you know, maybe that is big picture thinking and like that kind of stuff. So like for dyslexic folks, big picture thinkers, they can see and they can plan, like, so interior design, visualizing an entire room, seeing the end. Like, think about that. But like examples that I used, there's so many creatives who are Steven Spielberg is dyslexic. So like thinking about big picture, like in terms of filmmaking, or Richard Branson, you know, building an entire empire of so many different things. But like we figured out how to manage ourselves, and like we figured out like how we work, and or outsourcing the things that we can't do, or like that we know we're not going to do. Right. Exactly. So really just kind of reframing it, especially in a room of educators, of making sure like we don't need you to fix us. We want you to learn how to best support us. So just giving some insight, and obviously in a 5-minute talk you can only share so much. So it was more about hopefully piquing curiosity for those who work with other creatives that very, very well might be dealing with this. And just, you know, newer strategies, different ways to approach how you're coaching or how you're educating, or how you work with your own team as a creative. So there's a lot to unpack, but we all have that specialty, and just figuring out how to harness it, I think, is the actual bigger issue, and like the harder thing. It's not about not being good at something or not being smart or anything like that. It is figuring out the avenue in which to execute. And how you can execute well within your own space.
Right.
I love that.
Oh my gosh, Molly, that is like, I feel like you mic dropped again. I'm like, holy cow, girlfriend, like this is amazing.
Well, it's funny too. I think about it and I was like, okay, like I got to the conference and I saw that it was handheld mics, and I was like, shoot, I'm not going to be able to use my note cards. So that night I put those slides together, and I was like, okay, I'm like, I want it to be one word on each slide, or just like a quick, like whatever. And then I'm going to expand on it and whatever. And I don't know if you guys noticed this, but it was like black and white the whole way through. And then when I got to like my little punchline at the end, like it was bright red. And, you know, like just for me, that works because it was like visual, like that's an example. That's an example of like, okay, so much of my life is like, even though it's creative, is like very grayscale, like mundane, like finances, if I'm doing taxes, or if I'm doing any sort of like systems or whatever, like that is all so gray to me. Like that is so boring. But like when I get to the fun bit, it's like bam, like there's
Yes.
there's that blast of color. And that's what lights me up. So it's like, okay, I have learned that, even in presenting style now, that like I knew that there was a build up to something, and that for me to keep my attention, there needs to be not a lot of text on slides, and there needs to be a cadence of how you're talking and making people laugh. I was like trying to be funny up there.
Which was great, yes.
Yeah, and it was, but then also just having that impactful like punch at the end, I think was really important for me, because, it is truly, even that presentation was a good example of like how I operate and how my brain processes things. Yeah.
Well, and I feel like I think it's just such a good example. Like, I just loved the perspective of it from you. And again, I mean, being diagnosed as an adult, I don't even think I realized that. I mean, that is kind of another step of it. But I just think, like, when people ask me from my experience with my daughter and like, well, how do we even talk to our child about this? How can we even pass this on to them? I'm like, you just look at all the positives. Like, you don't present it to them as a stigma. You present it to them as a strength.
Right.
And this might be hard for you reading, but this is something that your brain does. Isn't that so cool? And so like you're saying, just looking at it from a different perspective and leaning into the things you're great at and that you see in color or that are keeping your attention versus the alternative, which is looking at it as a negative and kind of leaning into it in the victim.
For the longest time.
Right.
It was like when I grew up, if you had any sort of label, you were literally just put in special ed.
Yes,
and there was
I
no
know.
separation
You're right.
of like cognitive to like learning,
Whatever.
complexities or anything like that. You were just all lumped together.
In special ed, right.
Yeah, and there was like no, I don't know. I wouldn't have flourished there either, because I probably would have been so annoyed, which is terrible, but I would have been so annoyed having to be in the same space and operate from the same space from somebody that might be more severe than I am.
Right.
And it's like, like the system was set up to fail anyone who didn't learn traditionally.
Yes.
And that's what I love about that conference too. And like how education has changed over time, that like this type of learning is perfect for people who are neurodivergent, because you can do an online course if you're fine with that. You can do a hands-on thing if that's more your speed, and even podcasts, the fact that so podcasts have taken off in the way that they have the last 10, 15 years. And it's people are absorbing information just by listening instead of having to sit down and take time to read a book or and to get all
audiobooks like we talked about.
I know.
Yeah.
But it's true though. And honestly, I use audiobooks as a way to escape. So I do not listen. This is going to be terrible. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts, and I don't listen to a lot of audibles that are self-help or any sort of thing, because I will zone out. My Audible is escapism.
Yeah.
I want to get sucked into a story to where it's and I only listen to them when I'm driving. So it's I have a system, and it works, and it keeps me entertained because I drive a lot. So it's it's just so interesting. But to your point about knowing how to approach it, I don't even have that, because I didn't have that, and I'm still learning that for myself. But as an adult, it's easier for me to grasp and be okay, hey, this is why I am the way I am, this is how I tick. Sometimes I need to explain, hey, to my assistant, I'm listen, my brain does not have the capacity for what you just sent me. I was please put it in bullet notes, or tell me what is most crucial that you need from me right now.
Yeah.
And she knows that about me. She'll know sometimes when I'm overloaded, I just need to communicate what's not working. And it's hey, this is a lot for me. If I look just at this list, I'm going to do nothing. I'm can you give me one task right now? What do you need from me? And that works so much better. Does she feel like she's probably holding my hand? Yes. She told me the other day she was listening to a podcast on how to better deal with people with ADHD. And I was I just wrote to her. I was
that's awesome.
I'm so sorry. And she goes, no, it's perfect. And I was oh no, I'm glad you're doing it. But I'm sorry, I'm your high maintenance client. I'm really, I'm just so different than probably other people, and she
probably would like have that opportunity.
We're the great balance.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing is like, even though like she maybe has no clue, like that's probably why she's like learning, which is great. Like I wish everybody would like go through life learning, especially business owners in general, because you're gonna have clients who totally think differently than you, right? And then that way you can better serve them in a way that is more conducive to the way that, one, their learning style, their thinking style, the way that they process things. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if anyone's taken, I'm a sucker for personality like things. Like,
I
love anybody who's, listen, I don't know what anyone else's is. I just know that's the true 8 in me, and like a true Aries, and like honestly very ADHD. Like I'm not going to take the time to learn what you are, but I know what I am.
But you know what you...
Yeah, exactly. Like, you can tell me whether or not we're compatible. I don't know. I just know myself.
Right.
I love that kind of thing, because it also like helps you identify like, okay, these are certain strengths, but like with that assistant having, I haven't done it yet, but I don't know if you guys have heard of Strength Finders, that Strength Finders test.
No.
Like if you're hiring, and honestly, like I want to have my husband I want to like see like how it works, but it's like, when you're hiring, when you're onboarding, I was recommended to have anybody who is coming into my world and working with me to take this test, so that they truly are supportive of, like, that we're supporting each other.
Yes.
Where like my assistant, her brain is just like so much more logical and like mechanical and like figure, like she's the person who's going to be like, oh yes, I am going to watch the YouTube video and read about this and learn how to do it. And I'm like, no, someone needs to just tell me how to do it. Like, I'm also just very impatient, but like, so it's so funny, that Strength Finders, I want to take it, and I want to have her take it. I want to have my husband take it. Like, I think it's so fascinating, because it's these, I forget what it is. It's like 25 different strengths, right? And like, it ranks based on like what your top 10 are, right? And then like these low performing ones, like if you're bringing someone in like an assistant, like I would want them to be higher performing in the ones I'm lacking. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, I'm very anxious to get that assessment too, because I think that will be so fun just to figure it out. And have some more guidance.
Knowledge is power too. I mean, that's one of the things when you said you got your diagnosis, that's how I look at it. I just love to know, then you can address it, right? It's just of having more information to be able to know, well, this, no wonder this is the way it is.
Yeah. You can also market yourself really well that way too, right?
There is a market for it. And I think people are starting to learn that like, hey, like more of us have this than, and people like relating to one another. So if this is it's not still that taboo, but like what was such a taboo topic, like if you can relate to each other on that, that's like a really strong connector.
Absolutely.
And connection point to just from a human like aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's wild. There's just so much into it. And like I said, like I'm not claiming to know it all, but I think it's been fun to expose people in my world, and like obviously all the other talks at that conference were very like career or business or like here are 3 pillars to this, and I'm just like, and of course I was last, so I was like, I think this is perfect. I think this is like the perfect way to end, right? I was so not related at all to any of the other topics, and I was a little bit out there, but I do think that it did open, like you said, just like the knowledge part and being able to shift perspective into focusing on what makes it amazing, what makes me a more interesting person, that I have this. How am I more creative? Like I'm a creative problem solver rather than someone who might not be able to see a solution to something because they're so linear thinking. Both of my best friends are doctors, and like we're the school valedictorians, and like we're so smart, and like we're just so different. Like it's one of those things where I'm like, hey, like what does this mean or whatever, and you know, like we just like balance it, but it somehow works. But it just shows you like there's so much range for us to be able to relate, but also just it's never going to be the same as somebody else. And just the exposure of it to, I think, to any industry. Where actually it's funny because I'm working with Laylee as a speaker coach, and and it's really cool because I want like potentially taking this talk to the corporate side, and we were like talking about. So I can't tell you how many people either came up to me or slid in my DMs after that talk and was like, "I wish I could have that talk for my ADHD husband or like whatever, just like so that they could hear this or whatever." And the gal that I was sitting next to, she said she has an autistic child, and she said listening to the talk was the first time, and she was like crying, which then made me cry because I was like, I'm so sorry, but like it was really, really a great conversation because it is the exact example of why it needs to be talked about. Absolutely. Where it is the first time she was like, he loves to draw, he loves to do this, and he's like so fixated on it and all this kind of stuff, and like we're trying to, and I was like, let him be fixated, like let him become an amazing animator, let him become like whatever. And but she said that was the first time she was listening to or hearing something about the life they are living, and they are immersed in this world, and that it had a positive spin on it.
Right.
And she's like, it was the first, like one of the, she's like, it was one of the first times that like I thought about him and had hope for his future rather than thinking about the struggles he's going to have.
Well, I mean, I was in tears. Lovely. Yeah. I mean, I was in tears during your talk. Like I could not get a control of myself because again, just like as a parent, it does give you hope.
Resonate.
I mean, even though like especially when we're in third grade and we're failing math, the worst. That's what I'm in right now. And so hearing you and talking about it, and it does give you hope. And I 100% think you should go to the companies. I mean, I was we're
talking about having a corporate pitch because
you need to
learning how to be able to interact with coworkers that you don't know how to work with.
Well, and just knowing the power of what you have
and having a diverse team. Yeah, knowing the power of what it takes to have, or what it could look like to have a diverse team and have people with different strengths, even if they're different from you, and even if that bothers you, you need to figure it out. Like you need to figure out how to work together.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that.
So that will be really interesting to see how that takes shape in the future, because I'm excited to see where that goes.
Well, we are so excited for you.
Molly, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. Happy
You're the best. Oh my goodness, we're so excited to share this with the world too, and hopefully everybody else out there and the universe will be able, and the universe. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to reach some aliens. I don't know.
It might. It might.
Out in the world, we'll be able to at least like hear about it and be open and encouraged to say like, hey, if I have this, or if I know somebody who has this, or if I am employing somebody who has like a neurodivergent, to really play on their strengths, you know what I mean? And like, when you do that.
To touch on that really quick, I don't mean to derail it, but you can't like straight up ask somebody, are you neurodivergent or like whatever.
That's so true.
I mean, like my cousin did. She was just like, hey, I got assessed and I'm ADHD. And she's like, would you ever think about getting assessed? And I was like, sure. And she's like, good, because you got all these things. And she's like, you got all these things. But there are ways to ask people. Like there are ways that like if you're hiring somebody or you're putting a team together for something, there are ways to ask, like, do you have preferred learning styles? Are there any strengths that you have? Like, do you prefer to not learn a certain way? Do you prefer visual learning things versus written, like whatever? Those are very like common questions that are just about preferences that also can give them maybe some freedom to be like, hey, actually, I do have a reading disability. I would love to have slides with this transcript, like something like that. Like it's so important. So I just, when you started talking about that, about the importance of being able to like work together, and like obviously I know you're wrapping this up, but I was like, ooh, this is a good way. This is a good way.
We do this all the time too.
Yeah, I'm like, it's just an easy way to implement. Like if you're onboarding or you have a team or something, like, hey, how do you best learn? Like,
Yeah.
and I always lead with like, I have learning complexities. I don't do well with this. I don't do well with this. I do really well with this. So it's like that also opens the door for them to feel
Absolutely.
confident in talking about it. But even if we don't want to like get too far into that, there are those just very simple questions that helps people feel supported and that valued in the way that they can best contribute to a situation.
Yeah,
Love that.
girl. Oh my gosh. Well, I know. If really, truly, if anybody wants Molly to come and talk to them about the neurodivergence, we'll
Yes, this is a newer talk for me. That was my first go at Creative Educator Conference. So it's definitely something that is still being developed and
yeah.
worked on. But I would love to talk to anybody about this,
it.
or if you have communities or need speakers
Yes.
for anything. Like, I would love to talk more about this because I think most people aren't talking about it at all. But like,
I'm gonna
just start
recommend
the
you.
conversation.
I'm gonna recommend you to one here in Houston that
amazing.
I'm connected with, because I think it would
Okay.
be
It's
it would be a great fit.
so
Molly.
good.
So-
Yes,
Oh,
I know.
awesome. Okay, yeah.
Well, thank you so much again for
Molly.
taking your time to chat with
for
us.
having me.
You're amazing.
We
and
love
then
you.
We love you. We'll talk to you
back.
soon.
Love you
oh my
back.
goodness. Bye.
Bye, Molly.